Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ok Xoomer. I'm Aaron Lichtig, Xometry guy and former Jeopardy champion, and as always, I'll be your host today. And I'm excited today to be here with Adam Keating. Adam is the CEO of CoLab Software. It's a Canadian company. You're based in Newfoundland, is that right?
All the way far east out of Newfoundland.
Awesome. That is setting the standard for agile engineering design review and issue tracking. Adam is a mechanical engineer by background, and he previously worked on one of the world's first hyperloop vehicles and an electric propulsion system for large-scale aircraft, biology-guided radiotherapy systems, and some really big energy projects. So he's got a lot of experience in mechanical engineering. Adam, welcome, and thanks for joining us today.
Aaron, thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
Awesome. So what led you to start CoLab?
It's a complicated roadmap. And I mean, when I went into university, I wasn't even sure I wanted to do engineering to start. And it all kind of went one domino into the next. And what really triggered it was that Hyperloop project, because it basically was a mini company. We were competing in SpaceX's competition to build one of the first Hyperloop vehicles and try and win on a global stage. And at the time, the only thing they had was like a napkin sketch of what a Hyperloop pod looked like from Elon Musk. So we were creating this thing from scratch. We ended up building one that 2.5 years later came second globally. At that point, I started seeing like, okay, it's possible to kind of work at a global level here. And there's a lot of problems that need to be solved. So we were working on these student projects and also working in industry. A co-founder with Tesla, myself with Reflection Medical. And we just seen that no matter where we were, small or big companies, that the mechanical engineering world was falling behind the software world when it came to the tools and processes that they had to do their job. And we just said we couldn't picture ourselves doing 30 years with the tool chain that's available. And we need to create that. So in 2017, we stopped doing mechanical engineering and basically started doing engineering for mechanical engineers.
Nice. So how does CoLab's product help engineers with their process?
Yeah, so what we build is a collaborative design review and issue tracking platform. And really simply put, we are an agile tool where you can do design reviews with anyone in your team, other stakeholders in your company, external to you, all a single click. So if you're inside your CAD tool or your PLM, and you want to push that file into CoLab, it gives you a link that you can share with anybody that you have permission to share with. Immediately, you can add feedback to that model, to that drawing, concurrently or asynchronously. And then we manage the whole process for you so that your engineering team just focuses on giving feedback and not scanning paper, sending emails, trying to figure out where the latest data is. We put all that there for you in a very accessible way. And our focus really for the next year is helping mechanical teams become more agile like the software world. So teams are able to get through review cycles 50% faster so they can focus on actually fixing problems and not finding what the latest version might actually be.
So CoLab is kind of like an Atlassian for mechanical engineers.
Yeah, that's a pretty great comparison. I mean, I think Atlassian has done an amazing job of building like the ideal in the software world, where they have Jira, Confluence, Bitbucket, like their whole suite of tools is just incredible. And you look at the mechanical world, teams are starting to shift to the cloud with their software, but it's still lagging behind. And really for us, the issue tracking was the first piece we started building. And then I looked at how do we build design review, which is kind of the equivalent of a pull request in the software world. How do we get that in people's hands? So they have a queue of design reviews waiting. All the bits and pieces are automated. And when they want to go get something, they have instant access to it. So yeah, it's a pretty good comparison for what we're doing.
What are some of the things that your current customers like most about the product?
Yeah, it's been an interesting shift, I think, in the last number of months. I think the biggest one has just been the ease of access. You're no longer having to go through like days worth of training to use a CAD viewer properly, or having to set up a really complicated piece of software to view a file. It's literally just click a link. The link will open in your browser and you immediately can add the feedback. So for someone who's not using CoLab every day, it's a simplicity. And I think for the people who do use it every day, it's the ability to get rid of and cut through all the noise. Like a lot of our users will tell us that what CoLab does for them is actually let them build a more high quality product with less manual process. And that's something we're really proud of because we care about the quality a lot. And for us, it's one of the things that led us to do this, but we don't want to put this big burden on the user to actually do it. So we do on the back end all the automation for their reporting, moving the review through the review cycle for them, sending the updates and notifications, putting the file in a secure place. So we make sure that those pieces happen so that they just focus purely on doing their job.
What are some of the things that you're looking to build over the next 6 months, year to make the product even better?
Yeah, it's an awesome question. And I think COVID-19 kind of had an impact on some of this roadmap because it gave us a chance to see a number of our customers use the product super intensely because they were working from home, because they couldn't access things in the office. And what it showed us is that we have really good point solutions for doing these reviews. And now the next evolution is how do we stitch it all together? How do we really automate that whole workflow, tie it in tightly to their CAD and PLM system so that it feels like it's almost a seamless exercise? You go to get a review, the file just shows up. When you're done, it ends up back in your PLM. And to the user, they don't know the difference, right? They just know we're set up, the review is done, I know where my progress is to, and everything is tidied up. So the big thing for us in the next little while is going to be focused on kind of setting that actual standard for the review process, not just the review itself, but the actual workflow. We're coming out with a pretty big update in the fall. So CoLab 3.0 will be coming out around October, November timeframe. Feedback so far has been pretty exciting. So it's got me excited for the fall.
Excellent. Well, put me on your beta list if you haven't already.
I will.
Cool. So you successfully made that transition from being a practicing mechanical engineer to being an entrepreneur who is taking some of those interests and using them to create a company. What advice would you have for someone who's on that journey or thinking about making a journey like that?
Yeah, it's honestly been an incredible journey. Like for me, one of the value props I have is I still am practicing mechanical in some form because I'm kind of a consultant to all of our customers. And I work with them and understand that. So I'm still seeing parts of that. But for me, making the transition was all about finding something that I cared enough about to want to make that change. And for me, it was really easy because I cared very deeply about the processes I was following, and I couldn't believe there was no better way to do this. So it seemed almost like natural. Like there wasn't even really this thought process of like, hey, am I putting my mechanical degree behind because I did it to help mechanical engineers? I mean, down the road, like I always say, like the next chapter as CoLab evolves, we might actually, or I might actually in the future start building a hardware product, or I might do something like that. I think I always want to keep that kind of sharp. But in terms of advice for entrepreneurs, like for me, it's really just find something you really care about. If you're building a team, find the right person to co-found with. And if you're going to do it, you need to commit 100%. We were initially going to start the company as kind of like a side project. We got some good advice not to do that. And I think it was probably some of the best advice we ever gotten was just, we're going to do it, like go all in. Because even if it fails, the things you'll learn in that period of time is insane. I think I've probably gotten 20 years experience in the last 36 months. And I don't regret any bit of it.
Nice. And you guys did Y Combinator as well, right?
We did.
How was that experience?
So we did YC last summer, and honestly, it's pretty incredible. They talk about this like network that they have with alumni and investors, and until you see it, it's hard to really picture the value of it. So if I post in their internal tools for help on anything, like literally anything you can picture, somebody knows the answer. It's like the ultimate engine for getting startup advice. And somebody's done it before. Like that's the most important. Somebody has done the exact thing you're trying to solve, and they're just there to help. So for us, it was pretty cool to see like little company from Newfoundland. First one's actually in Atlantic, Canada, to do Y Combinator. So people don't even know where we live. Like they're thinking we live like up north in like an igloo without electricity. I actually have had people say that to me because they don't know where Newfoundland is. Right, it's a little island on the east coast of Canada. They're starting to become a bigger tech hub there. But for us, it was really cool to be able to take that down to California, somewhere we'd worked before, and now see this from like the ground up. I had worked in a startup that was Series D with Reflection Medical, and I was there around like the 50, 60 employee mark. Okay. So a lot of like the initial stuff was already moving. They were trying to get the machine ready for like an FDA approval. Like now they're a big company doing amazing things. But it was really cool to see like how that's conceived. And just to realize like these are just normal people too, right? They're super brilliant, but they are just normal humans. And you can do it. Like there's companies now that are trying to follow and do that. And it's like, it is difficult to get into. But when you get in, the experience you have and the people you meet are really world class.
Awesome. Well, Adam, thank you so much for joining us today on OK Zoomer. It's been awesome having you.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. I appreciate it, man.
And thanks for watching. We'll be back in another couple days with another episode of OK Zoomer.